Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. We are from Group 4 and today we will present about the topic application of Mudarabah at Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad. And our group members and also our table of contents. The first subtopic that we will discuss is the concept of Mudarabah.
Assalamualaikum and good morning to everyone. My name is Muhammad Afiq Aiman. Today I will present the concept of Mudarabah. Mudarabah or silent partnership is a contractual trust relationship between two parties in an economic activities. One supplying the capital, known as Rabbul Mal, and another one supplying the labor as agent or manager entrepreneur, known as Mudarib, to investigate a predetermined activities which grants each party a share of the profit at the time of the investment, and manager will bond all their losses when faces their allegations. The supplier will provide 100% capital to be managed by the manager. Earnings and risks that have been received will be divided between each party according to a pre-agreed ratio. Any financial losses by the investor that have been provided are not due to the agent's fault or misconduct in any specific terms. Furthermore, the earned profits cannot be distributed until all the expenses have been paid, in accordance with custom and the original agreement based on Islamic transaction Sharia. If the business have incurred loss in some transactions and has gained profit in some others, the profit shall be used to offset the loss at the first instance. Next, there are two types of Mudarabah in Islamic banking, which are Restricted Mudarabah, Al-Mudarabah Al-Muqayyadah, and Unrestricted Mudarabah, Al-Mudarabah Al-Mutlaqah. Restricted Mudarabah can be defined as the investor has specified investment details in the Mudarabah contract and has restricted the working partner within the scope of such specifications. Due care and precaution must be taken by the working partner to honor the restriction imposed by the investor. Investors who may specify a particular business or particular place for the manager entrepreneur, in which case he shall invest the money in that particular business or place. Unrestricted Mudarabah explains that the investor has granted the working partner to undertake any lawful investment. The working partner has the left to invest in any suitable investment that is reasonable, expected to yield profits. It is the responsibility of the working partner to avoid unlawful and high-risk investment, and the working partner is liable for any losses suffered from such investment. The investor gives full freedom to the manager to undertake whatever business he deems fit. The Mudarabah contract can be terminated by the two parties by giving notice at any time as long as they do not deny the contract agreement. If Mudarabah was for a particular term, it will terminate at the end of the term. Termination of Mudarabah means that the agent cannot purchase new goods and services for the Mudarabah. However, he may sell existing goods that were purchased before termination. Furthermore, if all assets of the Mudarabah are in cash form at the time of termination, and some profit has been earned on the principal amount, it should be distributed between the two parties according to the agreed ratio in the contract. If the assets of Mudarabah are not in cash form, they will be sold and liquidated so that the actual profit may be determined.
The second subtopic is about differences between Islamic Mudarabah and conventional banks.
Okay, first of all, between is about definition. Okay, in Mudarabah, or sharing the profit and loss with their venture capital is a partnership or trust financing contract. and a profit divided according to a set ratio. If the project fails, the Rabbul Mal will lose his money, and the Mudarib will lose the time and effort they put into it. Okay, that was definition of Mudarabah. We will go to definition of conventional bank. It is conventional bank offer fixed deposit as a financial instrument, and fixed deposit provided investor a fixed rate of interest, and this in exchange for the investor not to withdraw or access their funds or for a fixed period of time. Okay, now we will go into objective. Firstly, in Mudarabah, an investment instrument products is according to Islamic Sharia guidelines. And in this Mudarabah products, there is no element of deception or operation in the process. They are trusted in Mudarabah process. So for the conventional banks, they mainly concern with achieving maximum wealth for the shareholders, and actually it is might have element of deception or operation due to concerning and prioritize maximum wealth rather than justice. Okay, for the third point, it is about principle. In Mudarabah, there is not a violation of Sharia, which does not involve riba, horror, and maisir. For Mudarabah, it is based on profit and loss sharing system. They are very used in this system for Mudarabah. Okay, for while the conventional banks, they involve riba, horror, and maisir, and they definitely based on entirely interest-based model lah. What I can say, if your financing product have these three item, which is riba, horror, and maisir, it was definitely confirmed haram in Islam. Okay, so next I pass to Sayyid.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Sayyid Umair bin Sayyid Ahmad Aljunid, and I will proceed to the third point of the differences between Islamic Mudarabah banking and conventional banking. Now for the third point is about the concept. The concept for Islamic Mudarabah is where there is two party, where the first party is called Rabbul Mal, which is the entrepreneur or the one who provides the capital, or we can call it the investors. So this is the first party, and the second party, which is the bank, which we call Mudarib. So the Rabbul Mal will lend their money to the Mudarib for investing commercial, and this investing process does not include with interest rate. And then the Rabbul Mal party, we can see the difference where the Rabbul Mal party will provide 100% capital for the investing commercial, while the Mudarib will provide its knowledge for investment and invest the capital and manage the investment project. And so that is for the Islamic Mudarabah. While the differences we can see is that in conventional banks, it's quite the same, where there is an investor will lend the money to the banks, and the banks will use the money to invest also for investment, but the investor will be charged by a fixed interest rate. So that is the main difference between Islamic Mudarabah and conventional banks. And also the conventional banks, whereby they receive the money from the depositors, then the conventional banks will also loans to other people the money with fixed interest rate. So we can see the main difference is Islamic Mudarabah does not include fixed interest rate, while
Conventional banks will include fixed interest rate. We move on to the fifth differences between Islamic Mudarabah banking and conventional banking, where the fifth point is about the sources, whereby in Islamic Mudarabah banking, the sources is from Al-Quran and As-Sunnah, where Al-Quran is divine words from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and As-Sunnah is from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, words and actions, which is guaranteed to be trusted sources. Whereby in conventional banking, the sources is solely from man-made principles, where there is no relation to ethics or religious principles. And also for the sixth point in differences between Islamic Mudarabah banking and conventional banking, the sixth point is about the risk, where in Islamic Mudarabah banking, if there is any loss in the investment, the Rabbul Mal party will lose its capital or its money, where they lend the money to the Mudarib, whereby the Mudarib also will lose their time and their effort or their energy given for the investment project, but they will not lose any money because the capital is 100% provided from the investors, which is the Rabbul Mal. And so for the conventional banks, the risk is based on risk transfer and risk shifting, where the risk is transferred to the bank, where if there is happen to be loss in the investment project, the bank will be on the loss of their money, while the investors will guarantee to have the interest rate from the investment, even if the investment is a loss result. That is from me.
The third subtopic is Mudarabah in Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad. There are two types of Mudarabah contract being offered in Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad. The first one is Mudarabah Muqayyadah and the second one is Mudarabah Mutlaqah. For Mudarabah Muqayyadah, it means an agreement where the funder set the management of his or her business on restrict for the entrepreneur, looking by aspects such as specified time, what type of business, where to do the business, and what kind of services that he or she wanted to offer. For Mudarabah Mutlaqah, it was an agreement when the funder didn't restrict anything about the management of his or her business in any possible way. The mudarib or the entrepreneur is given with any kind of choice and option to handle the funds without worrying about any restriction. In Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad, there is two types of investment account. The first one is restricted investment account and the second one is unrestricted investment account. For the restricted investment account, it was launched on April 2015, and meanwhile for the unrestricted investment account, it was launched on June 2015. Under the restricted investment account, there is a product called Al-Ansar SME Financing, but it is based on Wakalah. For the unrestricted investment account, there is also a product known as Al-Awfar Investment Account and also Special Investment Account or SIA Mudarabah. Both of these are based on Mudarabah contract. Next, let us take a look on the key elements for RIA or Restricted Investment Account. For RIA, the funds are invested into specified asset according to the investment mandate set by the customer. Number 2, it requires matching between investment tenure and the maturity of the underlying asset. And for the number 3, it is depend on specific withdrawal condition. Means that customer are subject to specific withdrawal condition agreed at inception. Now, we will take a look on the key elements for Urea or Unrestricted Investment Account. The first point is rely on Islamic bank's expertise. It means customer need to rely on Islamic bank's expertise to determine a broad investment mandate. The second one is combining investment account funds that has similar risk profile. It means Islamic bank may combine investment account funds belonging to many customers with similar risk profiles within a single pool or multiple UA pools to be invested in a group of assets. UA here mean unrestricted investment account. The third one is flexible withdrawal terms. It means customers are subject to more flexible withdrawal terms compared to the RIA, restricted investment account. For Sharia structure of Mudarabah, it has 3 processes that happens in the contract. The first one is it involves 2 parties. The first one, the capital provider as the Rabbul Mal. Second one is bank as the Mudarib. So, the Rabbul Mal will place his or her investment in the bank with agreed profit sharing ratio based of 20% and 80%. So, Bank Islam later will invest the capital provider fund via bank financing project, and it later will generate profit or maybe incurred loss. So, for the aspect of profit, the Rabbul Mal will get its profit as per agreed in the PSR for about of 20%, and bank will also get its profit as per agreed in the PSR for about 80%. If there is any loss in the business venture of the Mudarabah contract, it will be solely borne by the Rabbul Mal itself. Below, there is 3 examples if there is a situation where the investment account holder or the capital provider provides about 1,000 ringgit as capital for the investment, and the agreed profit sharing ratio is 20 and 80. The capital provider will get 20% and the bank will get 80%. So for example number 1, if the investment return is about 500 ringgit, the capital provider will gains about 100 ringgit and bank will gains about 400 ringgit. For example number 2, if the investment return is about 800 ringgit, the capital provider will gains about 160 ringgit and the bank will gains about 640 ringgit. For example number 3, if there is any loss in the investment, and here it is about 300 ringgit, the capital provider will bear the entire loss. Next, the fourth subtopic is item consists in Mudarabah contract according to BIMB policy. There are 4 items that need to consist in the Mudarabah contract according to BIMB policy. So the first one is contracting parties. For contracting parties, it must have 2 parties that consist of a Rabbul Mal, the capital provider, and a Mudarib, the entrepreneur or bank in any of Mudarabah contract. Both parties also need to be a legal person that have enough capacity and be eligible to carry out his or her responsibilities in order to get into the Mudarabah contract. Need to be remembered that both parties, the Rabbul Mal and the Mudarib, can be more than just one person for each party. For the items number 2, it is offer ijab and qabul. As we know, ijab and qabul, or offer and acceptance, is also one of the items that need to be consist in the Bank Islam products that based on Mudarabah contract. It once again involve the two parties, the Rabbul Mal and the Mudarib. They need to enter the Mudarabah contract by an offer and acceptance between both of them before they are making the contract to happen. Also, it has many methods or ways to do it. It means there is many methods or ways to express the offer and acceptance, such as by doing it verbally or using handwriting that could be used for the evidence of the documentation and record. For items number 3, it is capital and business venture. Capital is an asset or property that given by the Rabbul Mal to the Mudarib for him or her to do the business venture of Mudarabah. The capital can be in variety of forms, such as cash, intangible asset, and also it need to be reachable, noticeable, and obtainable by the Mudarib to do or to start the business activity. Need to be remembered that any kind of debt will not be counted as capital, and all the remaining capital will be given back to the Rabbul Mal after the termination of the Mudarabah contract. Also, despite having the privilege to run the venture of the Mudarabah contract, the Mudarib need to make sure that the business is running smoothly and it is suitable and according to the Mudarabah contract itself. He also need to take heed on what the Rabbul Mal has to say. Rabbul Mal is also not encouraged to do anything that related to the business work. For the last item, it is the predetermined shares of profit. For the profit, it will be shared between the two parties, the Rabbul Mal and the Mudarib. The profit need to be shared based on the PSR, the profit sharing ratio, before they entered the Mudarabah contract. Also need to be justified. The Mudarib is not guaranteed with any kind of profit, and both of them, the Rabbul Mal and the Mudarib, would share the profit based on what ratio is they are ready to be agreed with, according to the PSR, the profit sharing ratio. And also, if there is any loss, the loss will be borne by the Rabbul Mal itself. Our fifth subtopic is about the compliance of Mudarabah in BIMB with Mudarabah in Sharia.
For my first point, the discussion on the implementation of the Mudarabah principle in terms of investment service for a specific time in Islamic banks needs to be debated, as the role of depositors is to invest money based on the Mudarabah principle on current accounts based on a specific investment period. The timing of the Mudarabah principle for current accounts practiced by Islamic banks is not contrary to the provision of Islamic Sharia. Having a period of time for investing money in the bank means that the bank can invest the money in profitable and halal ventures. It has also been explained by the Imam Hanafi and Imam Hanbali says that it is required. For the second point,
researchers and scholars have found that the practice of Mudarabah contract practiced by Islamic banks is viewed from the view of the implementation of the covenant, condition and pillars on the principle of Mudarabah that exists in the book of classical fiqh from the Muqtabah school. All of that has been gathered in the explanation of the savings account, current account and al-Mudarabah, best equity financing service offered to customer by the bank. According the saving account service, current account and equity financing service offered by the bank based on the principle of Islamic Mudarabah are permissible and they are safe based on observable, objective and analysis of their validity.
And the last but not least is the conclusion.
As we know, which has been financed by the Islamic banks for each year, had shown and encouraged increased even in a profitable amount. We can see when economic activities financed by Islamic banks based on the principle of al-Mudarabah are not contrary to Islamic Sharia. The opinion of the scholars from the school of fiqh who are placing in their book as well as the written of the current scholars. From the analysis, the result shows that the financing system on application of Mudarabah that has been applied by Islamic banks is in reality guided by Sharia legislation that has been set by the Sharia Banking Department, where the legislation has the content of procedures and rules set for use by Sharia banking, which is in Malaysia. The enforcement of Sharia principle in Islamic banking is obligatory since the Sharia principle are the basic reasons for the existence of Islamic banking.